hope you enjoyed the tape. All right, we're going to start out with the Pasai Sho kata first. Now, Pasai Sho means the lesser form of the Pasai kata. The Dai version, which is also known as Matsubura no Pasai, is the major form of the kata. So we're going to start off with a variant, which is a more simplistic form that we call Pasai Sho. I'd like to take you through that right now. Pasai Sho. Now I'm going to take you through Pasai Sho kata from a different angle, or from a side view, so you can better see all the movements involved in the performance of Pasai Sho. Pasai Sho! Now we're going to walk through Pasai Sho kata, just at a slow pace so you can understand all the movements and so forth, and actually get some idea of what the stances are and then how the whole kata is to be performed. All right, first start off from the Tsubigachi, or the attention stance. Feet turned out 45 degrees. In fact, all of the Shorin kata start from this position. Next thing is to rei, or bow. Now, just a little tip when you're performing kata. Make sure your wrists are straight. Remember, if you have a tendency to have your wrists out like that, which often occurs, you sort of look like a penguin. So don't do that. Have your wrists nice and straight along either your hands straight like this, or you can cup your hands like that, either one along your sides. Right? Rei, or bow, for courtesy. Next move, yoi. Right hand on top. Pull this into you like this, pulling your right hand into a fist as you go. So you should wind up like that. Okay. Next move. Step out with your left foot into a shallow cat stance. Then we're going to do slide, step, step. It's the beginning footwork. The lead foot slides out first. That's known as okuriashi, or sliding movement. So simply slide, step, step like that, and then supported block this way. Your finger touches inside like that. It's a supported block like that. Next move. Step back into Pasai Dachi, or Pasai stance, this way. And remember, that's when your shin bone is held vertical like that, and your feet turned out about 30 degrees. All this stuff is in our training manual and also on some of our earlier videos. Okay, just like that. And you assume a kamae, or a fighting posture, with your hands down like this. Next move. You raise your hands up into a block. The way you do that is to touch your fingertips like this, and then you're going to roll your hands up, and which rotates your forearms outboard and wind up in this blocking position, just like this. All right, next move. Slide your right foot back, chop block straight down, and then nuki tail, thrusting forward just like this. All right, next move. Block and punch. All right, what's happening here is chop block, nuki tail. This is a grab punch. You're blocking your opponent's punch and then grabbing his gi. And this is blocking groin kick, pull down, punch. You do the same thing on the other side. Punch. Now step forward, down block 3 times. 3 down blocks like this. Step back, double crane block like this, and your hands, your thumb and index finger form this almost a V shape like that. Front kick, turn and block. All right, let me step out of the M-Lucen for a second so you can see the next move. Turn and block, knife hand block. Crescent kick this way and turn. All right, let's get back into the M-Lucen now so we can continue with the kata. So down block position, you slide back, double crane block. Front kick, turn and knife hand block. Crescent kick, like this. Slide up. Pull your left foot back, your Musubidachi again. Now left foot steps out in a searching motion, like this. Morote Zuki, or double hand punch like that. The thing to note about this is, in some of the other kata, when you step from the side, you use hip rotation. You do Morote Zuki. In this one, you snap your spine like a willow tree, or a piece of bamboo responds to the wind. That's the idea of this. So as you step out, and incidentally, this searching movement with your foot, this simulates the white crane leg blocking. So this is blocking somebody's front kick, actually. So as you step out, Morote Zuki. When you step back, the right hand goes on top, pulls back this way. Right foot searches out now. Morote Zuki. Step back one more time. Do this 3 times. Left foot is out now. Next move. Step back. Soto uke, outside block. Hasai dachi. Now, left hand soto uke. Next move. Head snap. Looking in the direction of the attack, you withdraw your left foot to your right. This is to cover your groin, for groin protection. You hold that for a second or 2, and then slowly step out again. Assume Hasai dachi. Settle down into your stance before you perform the blocking motion. Now, the blocking motion. The rear hand comes around first. In this case, it's the right hand. Now you do what we call threading the needle. As that one pulls back, the other one comes out. This is kate uke, or hooking block. And of course, you keep your thumb and index finger like this. This simulates grabbing onto your opponent. Next move, sharp head snap. Back the other way. Right foot comes to left. Hold that for a second or 2. Searching out, settle down into Pasai dachi, or Pasai stance, this way. Left hand block first, thread the needle, and then pull back this way. Next move, you continue looking to the right, withdraw your right foot to your left. Right hand on top. Right hand goes in a fist, then scan back to the front. Now, hands at your sides, rei, or bow for courtesy at the end. And that's it. That's Pasai Sho kata. All right, now we're going to get into the interesting, interpretive, artistic, and also combative part of the kata. This involves the bunkai, or fighting applications, concealed within the kata. So, in other words, each movement has some obvious applications, but then again, there's some applications that are not so obvious. So, we're going to begin with the very first move in Pasai Sho kata, which is to step out this way, and then slide forward into this supporting block motion like that. All right, and the idea of this is to step into your opponent's attack, jam him, shut him down, and then counterattack. It goes like this. Hey. Yeah! All right, a little slower for you now. What's happening is, as your opponent attacks, you rush into his attack as he attacks and use a supporting block like this to take out his punch. Right? Once you've accomplished that, then the next movement in the kata, and incidentally, let me give you another little tip on the performance of all your kata. Oftentimes, the direction that your foot is pointing indicates what the next movement is in the kata. In this case, my left foot is pointing off at a left 45-degree angle, which means that's where I'm going to move next. So after the supporting block, you just simply unfold like this, shut your opponent's punch down so that he can't punch off the other side, and you step out like this, and then rotate your hips, punch to the ribs like that. Okay, that shuts him down so he can't punch or reach you off the other side. You have a little safety measure there. And then you step diagonally or tie body shift out of the way to execute your counterattack. Moving further along within the sequence of movements in Pasai Shokata, the next thing we come to is stepping away like this into Pasai Dachi. This is simply a command. This is not necessarily a technique, although it could be a block, but not necessarily a technique. It is a command. Now remember, from the performance of the kata earlier, you raise up like this as the next movement. This is simply a move to block a choke or someone trying to grab you around the neck, what have you. All right? And of course, the bunkai or application oftentimes are interpreted. In other words, you can interpret more than one movement or more than one response or application to an attack from that particular movement within the kata. So here's one that goes like this. Okay, now let's go through that a little slow so you can see what's happening. The idea of this is sometimes this is called Yama-uki, also mountain block, because you see your hands are at an angle like this, forms like a peak of a mountain. And of course, the idea of putting your fingertips together like this, rather than just simply crashing your forearm into your opponent's arms, this actually puts some rotation into your forearm. The idea is that it makes it like a camming effect against your opponent's punch, right? A little bit more technique involved. So, just slowly, what this looks like is, right? As your opponent attacks, you step back, and then a rotation like that to block his attack where he's going to try to choke you. Next move, double chop to the collarbones. You're right there. Grab a hold, knee strike. Push off and discharge, pushing him away. Step back into a line. Incidentally, this is also part of a Yakusoku Kumite drill, or a two-man pre-arranged sparring drill, which we'll have for you in another tape, and also it's within our training manual. Okay, that concludes that portion. Next, we're going to move right into the application of the next movement of the kata, which is, from here, you'll recall, chop down, nukite, like that. Okay, remember, when you do this, it's this way. Upper block, chop down, nukite. Next movement in the kata, rotate back this way and do the same thing on the other side. The kata is symmetrical. That's how it works. So, several applications right here. Here's one of them. Hey, you don't skate. Hey. Oh, yeah! Yeah! All right. A little bit slower now. Now we're starting to get into the tuite applications also. What happens here is, the idea is you use pasai or your horse stance to step to the side of your opponent's attack. So as he comes in, I'm shifting out of the way this way. You can put a little angulation there too. Chop block straight down. Next one is either nukite here, or another vital point is under the armpit like that. You strike like that to loosen them up before you apply any tuite technique or joint locking technique. So either here or here like this. Now, this hand is already here. It simply drops down like that. You wrap around. Next one, this hand comes so that your thumbs cross like that. You can do it this way too. That's better. Next move is shift your left foot back. Bring this around, and then put pressure straight down while you're twisting. Don't try to twist off like that. But straight down, and that will make him go down rather quickly. You pull him all the way over because you want to get him onto his belly in order to have a proper submission hold. Right from here, you can continue this with a wrist lock. You can do this as an arm bar. Okay? You can just simply push forward. You can step on his gi or his belt or lock him up here. There's lots of possibilities just to hold it in place. And then just push forward with the shoulder bar, put a lot of tension right there. In any case, you have him into a submission position, which is where you want him after he's attacked and he's blocked by your time. Hey, I got to go. Now, the next element we're going to cover, whether the concept is contained in the sequence of movements, which follows this chop block and mikite or thrust like that. The next movement is to simultaneously leg block and hand block this way at the same time, pulling your hands together, pulling back, and then punching like that. What this means is, number one, when you are slapping the inside of your thigh, or knee rather, like you do when you perform my hanchi kata, that's a leg block. What happens is someone is trying to kick your groin. So to protect your groin, you step up like this so that you have your groin fully protected by your shin. At the same time, you're doing a hand block this way. And the open hand in this particular position, a little bit different angle here. Okay, what this means is you block, but now you're poised to grab. And of course, when you perform the kata, that's what you do. You grab your opponent's sleeve of his gi, pulling him into your punch. So it's leg block, grab, punch is actually the technique that's being shown to you there by the kata. It looks like this. Hey. All right, a little slow now. So you can see what happens. As this kick comes in, little shift, nice sabat, leg block. His punch comes, your hand is right there, you grab the sleeve of his gi, bang, solar plexus punch. Hey, go. The next sequence of movements I'd like to show you within the Pasai Shokata involves the double hand crane block. If you recall from the performance of the kata, what happens is you step forward with 3 down blocks, finish up with the right leg forward, step back, execute this movement, and then front kick like that. What this is a defense against someone trying to choke you or grab you or even tackle you up high. Okay? And it looks like this. Oh, yeah! One more time. Back. Oh, yeah! All right. Now, slow motion so you can see what's happening. As your opponent attacks, you simply bring your hands in close to your body like this, rotate them out, and this is why your thumb and index finger are cupped like that within the kata, because then it just simply flops down and fits his forearms perfectly so that you can pull him right into your front kick, just like that. Okay. Very simplistic, but yet very effective. The next movement of the kata makes use of Mikazuki Geri, or the crescent kick. Right? And the way that works is, as you'll recall, when you're doing your kata, block, step back, front kick, turn and block. All right, after you've done the turn and block, the next move is to crescent kick. Then what happens is you just slap your hand to simulate striking something with the sole of your foot when you do the crescent kick, just this way. All right, and here's the application. A little slower now, just to show you what's happening there. As your opponent attacks, and you're standing either in a natural stance like this, or a sparring or fighting stance this way. Remember, not too deep, because you can't move too well. Move it shin bone vertical. This is your mobility stance for fighting. As the punch comes in, you shift and tie sabak to the outside. If you use more of a circular motion like this, you'll prevent this. That little circular, and then you've always got that block. Simply crescent kick to the face, and this is a knockdown technique. Okay, actually knockout technique by slapping the sole of your foot so that it touches here and there like that. So it's going to strike the point of the jaw and the temple. We'll cover some of that pressure point stuff on an upcoming Shusho Jitsu videotape. But what's happening is you're hitting two vital points actually at the same time. By blocking first, and then when you crescent kick, this was a knockout technique right there. Okay. The next Bunkai application of Pasai Sho involves using what we call Morote Zuki, or double fist punch. And you'll recall in the kata what happens is you have just executed a knife hand block, then the crescent kick. Then you wind up in a posture like Musubidachi, like an attention stance. It looks like this. Pulling up like that. Next move. The searching movement again, which you see a lot in both Pasai kata. Stepping out, punch like that. Then we repeat that over and over again. All right, now, the searching movement with your leg, this simulates leg block. Stepping out like that. All right, and here's the application. Okay. All right, a little slower now. What happens is, as he does his kick, shift, leg lock, step down, and double punch like that. Now, the next movement in the kata, after you have executed this, you'll recall, is to take your right hand and cross it over your left before you step back every time. What this is an escape. It's a tuite escape. The idea is your opponent has grabbed both your wrists, okay? And then as he does that, you just simply bring the right one over the top and just clash them together like that to escape. The most important thing about doing that, though, is you must always work against your opponent's thumb and index finger like that. Rotate your wrist this way and go against. If you'll do that, you can always break the grip. If you try to go any other way and just match strength against strength, it won't work. But if you just do that, you can escape every time. Now, the last movement within Pasai Sho kata I would like to discuss with you is this searching out move, followed by what we call kakeuke, which means hooking block, like that. There's many applications of this, but the basic idea is to just simply grab your opponent, be able to block, and then grab and execute a technique. But there are many permutations or different techniques that can come out of just this one movement. And what I want to show you here is the introduction to Shorin-ryu's double hand blocking system. And that's where you block with the rear hand first, and then as a sort of a temporary measure, and then you block with the lead hand, and that's the real block. So the first one is what we call a check. All right, so that check is just sort of a temporary measure, a temporary block. And then the real block is the lead hand. All right, so as the more sophisticated your karate becomes, you're always working some kind of an angulation technique, either to the outside of your opponent, this way, or sliding to the inside, just to make him miss slightly. All right, so as you use Taizabak for body shift to the inside, the rear hand, that's this one, does a check block. And then the real block, remember this is just like in your kata, see? And the real block is this one, and then you finish up with a counterattack. Now, you can also use the same method to block against a double punch attack. Okay, that looks like this. Hey. A little slower now. Hey. Hey. Reverse punch. Then you set up perfectly for the front kick counterattack like that. All right, so one more time. Taizabak, check with the rear hand. Now as the second punch comes, see, it's threading the needle. Just like your Pasai Shokata, threading the needle. You push or press against his elbow joint to shut him down, so you now have prevented him from using any further hand techniques. And remember, I always tell you, you only need a 20th of a second to gain the advantage. So if I just press for a 20th of a second, he tries to counter. Okay, so shutting him down, punch to the rib cage, kick to the groin, and you're done. Now, that concludes the bunkai, or the applications of Pasai Shokata. I'd now like to perform the Pasai Dai Kata for you at normal speed. Remember, this is the more advanced version of Pasai, or actually the original version of Kata. A little bit more complex now, and somewhat more intricate. Looks like this. Pasai Dai! This time we're going to run the Pasai Dai Kata, but again, same way as we did with Pasai Sho, from a different angle, from a side view, so that you can see all the intricate movements within the kata. Right now, I'd like to walk you through Pasai Dai kata, very slowly explaining all the movements. So you've got to see it performed from a frontal view and from a side view. Now, from a frontal view, and we'll just sort of walk you through everything so you can understand all the sequence of movements. All right, starting from Musubi Dachi, where the attention stands. Rei, bow for courtesy. Yoi, getting ready. Right hand on top. You fold in this way. And also, from the side view, it looks like a quarter moon this way. It's not like that, okay? It is a quarter moon going that way. All right, right hand in a fist, same as Pasai Sho. First movement is the same. Step out into this little shallow cat stance. About a second or two, you hold that. Then, same idea, Okuriashi, sliding, step, step. Slide, step, step, except this time, you cock both hands at your left hip and shoot an X block, left hand on top. Okay, something unique in this kata. Next one, step out, Pasai stance. Right hand comes on top this time. X block off at a 45-degree angle. Come to a kamae like this. This is like Yamauke of the Pasai Sho. Double chop. 1, 2, like this. Step out, pivot. 2 more double chops. 1, 2. Step in, open hand down block. Block, check, block, step down. This time, punch and outside block. Now, next thing is off the other side, we're going to do the same thing. No leg block, though, on this side. It's just punch and soto uke. Like that. Now, step across, diagonally, turn, shallow cat stance. Let me go this way so you can see it. That way, and a front kick. Hammer forward, fist, and then front kick. 3 down blocks. Same idea as Pasai Sho. Step back, double hand crane block. This time you're going to kick a little higher, though. It's actually a toe kick up underneath the chin. Turn and block. Knife hand block. Again, let me step out of the embu-sen so you can see what's happening. Knife hand block. Slide back with both fists protecting your groin. This way. Rotate out. Step in. Double back fist to the collarbone. Step in again. Punch and ki. Alright, so from here, you're actually in this position in the embu-sen. Head snap, step across with a lead flip. High-low block like this. Now, step in. Knife hand block. Your left hand comes to here. Chop out like that. Crescent kick. The little pad on your finger fits neatly into this little space created by your little pinky in your palm, like that. Next move, left hand drops down, 2 double blocks. 1, 2, like that. Now, you're going to slide back this way. Let me step out of the embu-sen so you can see it. You're here, searching movement. Okay? Step back, searching movement with the other side. All right, so let's get back into the embu-sen. Down, block, block. Step up, search, punch. Search, punch. 1 more. Search, punch. Turn, right hand soto uke, outside block. Now the left hand does soto uke, outside block. Head snap, slide in for groin protection. Searching movement out, settle into your stance, block, block. Remember, kate uke. Head snap, same thing the other side. Searching movement, settle down, nice Pasai stance. Shin bones are vertical. Block, block. Remember, threading the needle. Now, yame, right foot to left. Right hand goes into a fist like this. Okay. It's Pasai Dai kata. Now, before we get into the bunkai, or practical applications, or fighting applications of Pasai Dai, I just wanted to mention to you a couple little historical things about the kata. A lot of people ask questions, in Okinawan karate, in Okinawan Shorin-ryu, what are these different gaits or hand postures that you use in the beginning of the kata? Well, there's a couple of applications there. One is that the idea, you'll recall, is that you do this movement, right hand into a fist, at the beginning of Pasai Sho and Pasai Dai Kata. Right? What's happening there is a belief that these hand postures are derived from the Shaolin Temple method of making the right hand into a fist and then the left hand covering it like this and then bowing. Right? The idea is that this had to do with the Ming Dynasty. And if you look at the Chinese characters for Ming Dynasty, it makes up, one character is the sun, one character is the moon. The closed fist represents the sun, and then the open hand, your left hand, represents the moon. And what this signified was the most amount of illumination you could have. In other words, a very illuminating period in Chinese history. That's one part of it. Another part of it, very practical, the Okinawans being very practical in their fighting tactics, is this hand posture was also used to conceal a knife. So if you had a knife in your hand, and it was held in what we call gyakute mochi, or reverse hand grip, this way, you could hold that knife either like that, concealing it, or you could hold it hante mochi, in a natural grip, pointing out like this, and have your left hand concealed like that, so that you couldn't see it. So that's also some of the practical aspects of these different hand positions that you see in the beginning of some of the kata, and especially Pasai Dai. Now we're ready to get into the bunkai, or applications of Pasai Dai. And you remember from Pasai Sho, the first movement is sliding forward, and actually shuts down or jams the opponent by going straight into them. In Pasai Dai, the application is similar to that, in that you are jamming somewhat, but there's also a throwing and takedown technique as part of that I'd like to show you. Right. Alright, now, the beauty of this technique is after the takedown, you're actually performing an arm bar on your opponent right here. A little bit of pressure at his shoulder, and you can see that all of a sudden his joint is becoming hyperextended. Now, what this does for you, though, this particular position, is it allows your right hand to be free so that you can follow up with a punch. It also is a grappling method of shutting your opponent down so that he cannot move. So now if he tries to get up or tries to punch you or kick you, just merely by pressing on his shoulder, you're executing a joint lock, both against his elbow and his shoulder joint. And again, remember, like I always tell you, all you need is a 20th of a second to get off like that. Okay, now, let me walk you through the beginning movement one more time, just slowly this time so you can see what's happening. As your opponent attempts a punch, you slide forward and come in and jam that technique. In other words, you're coming into him as he attacks. It's a very advanced technique to actually attack your attacker. But yet, if you're skillful enough to do it, an excellent strategy. So you attack your attacker by sliding forward as he goes to punch you and jam his technique. Again, same idea happens. This foot is pointing out that way, so that means you're going to step this way. Next thing is, you need to slide in and enter back in towards your opponent's center. So you've got to sort of marry up your hips with his a little bit as you begin to execute an arm bar. This wraps around so you can twist his wrist. This presses against his shoulder like that. And you take your left hip and put it up against his, and by entering this way. And of course you toss a box, swing your right leg back around. Now the idea is not to let him drift out this way, because then you'll lose control of him. It's like staying close to the center of the storm, or the eye of the storm. You stay in close like this, and then push him straight down. Don't let him drift out. Straight down, and of course that sets you up in this position again right here. Right. Now, the next sequence of movements within Pasai Dai Kata involves Jodanuke, or upper blocking. Remember, we started from this position, or this is where we left off. The idea is to come back like this, X block, open up to a kamae, and then these two double chops. All right, here's what the application is here. Hey. All right, now, a little slower for you so you can see what's happening. First of all, your opponent attacks with an upper punch. You X block this way. Now, next movement is to open up like this. This is what your kamae is, or fighting posture when you're doing the kata. That's to open up this way and execute two carotid strikes. Now, they're not chops like we do in Pinan Yanban. That's a chop that comes into the side of the neck. This one is a driving knife hand strike this way. What that does is roll back this muscle tissue on the side of the neck and exposes the carotid artery right there. So again, these are knockout techniques. The idea is to chop driving this way, chop the other way. Now this sets you up for a throwing technique by placing your left hand behind, grabbing a hold. Now, as you bring his head down, his head is actually now determining where his center of gravity is and also upsetting his balance. So as you push his head down, it's going to be rather easy to throw him. And then, of course, you hang on like this, and 10,000 possibilities. You can kick to the ribcage like this, fumitomi to the head, armbar this way, go in for what we call juji gatame. You can slide right into armbar that way. Okay, execute an armbar here, kick like that. 10,000 different possibilities. Okay, from there, once you get to your ground grappling. But the idea of this is, keep in mind the two carotid strikes. It rolls back that muscle on the side of the neck, exposes the carotid for a driving knife hand strike. Hey, how do you guys go? Thank you. Now, the next sequence of movements within Pasai Dai is very important from a tuite or grappling standpoint. Actually, we wind up with two forms of armbar. But the sequence I'm talking about is this. What happens is you step to here, and then right after this sequence, right, what happens is you step across diagonally and turn into a little cat stance like this, hammer fist, front kick, and turn around the other way. Now, what's going on there is several things. One, you're using a grappling technique. Two, you're using a form of tai sabaki or body shifting unique to Shorin-ryu karate. The concept of diagonally stepping away from an attack as an opponent attacks you from the rear. So here's what I'm talking about. Hey, just punch first. All right, as your opponent punches, what you do is step out diagonally away from his attack. Okay, one more time. Just pivoting away this way. Now, if you were to turn the other way as your opponent punched, you'd be stepping right into his fist, right? Or in other words, he'd be able to get you that way. So if you step to the outside, by diagonally stepping across exactly the same way you do when you're performing your movements of the kata, you have now managed to nullify his attack. You're out of range. Right? You've shifted away from the attack. Now, two grappling maneuvers I'd like you to see here. The first one is a coil, and this one looks like this, joint locking technique. A little slow now. What happens is, as your opponent attacks, you shift away. And as you shift, and of course when you're doing the kata, remember you're actually doing this movement. What this means is this, right into a coil like that. Okay, slow it down for you. This hand, your left hand, is on the outside. Your right hand is on the inside of his elbow joint. As you press, it breaks down his arm, and then you bar or bridge over your own arm like that. Now you already have the joint lock here. You follow that up with outer leaping throw. You sweep at the same time this way for a takedown. Now, you finish up where you hang on to him, because if you let go, he may decide to counter by kicking you or punching you. If he goes to punch you, just apply some pressure. He's in enough pain where he's not going to do that. You can also take your knee and put that into his rib cage at the same time, okay? And you can subdue him that way. Next, by reversing your hands, you can go the other way and do an arm bar. Here's what this one looks like. Now, I did that so I didn't get hurt. What happens is you actually put your left hand against his elbow joint and your right hand this way. And there is a hyperextension of the elbow. So you combine that with an arm bar and front kick to the groin. Okay, a unique Shorin-ryu self-defense technique. Remember, within the Pasai Shokata, I showed you that after this down block sequence, we stepped back, did the double crane hand block like this, and front kick. All right? The application within Pasai Dai is the same, except that we alternate the counterattack slightly. In Pasai Sho, it's simply a front kick to the stomach or solar plexus. In Pasai Dai, I mentioned earlier, you toe kick under the chin. This is a technique that Master Soken actually put into this particular kata. It looks like this. Again, going to Kyusho Jutsu points, pressure points, vital points with a penetration technique, your big toe. Our next sequence of movements within Pasai Dai Kata, you'll recall, is to withdraw up to this groin protection movement like this, and then bring your hands together in front of your face, rotate out, step in and strike, shuffle forward and strike again. This is a defense against choke. So we have actually two defenses against choke within Pasai Dai. This is the second one. And it's a strike to the clavicle, so both collarbones of your opponent, followed by a punch to the midsection. Looks like this. All right, now, slow motion one more time. As he attacks, you slide back, block like this, rotate out. Okay, that's why you put your hands together like this in the kata to do a rotation. Step in, double strike to the clavicles. Be careful when you're doing this. It's easy to break these bones. You're stronger than you think. Double strike to the clavicles, then you shuffle again. Punch to the midsection like that. There you go. Now, our next sequence of movements in Pasai Dai that I want to explain to you involves the use of the crescent kick. You'll remember in Pasai Sho, we use the crescent kick to strike to the face as a knockout technique. Right, this time we're going to use the crescent kick as a block. And remember that it occurs in the kata after you have done this particular technique, and you then strike your hand that way with a crescent kick. What happens is, this is another interpretation or another way of using it. So instead of using the kick as a strike to the face, we're going to use it as a block this time. Okay. A little slower now. What happens is, as your opponent attacks, you withdraw your lead foot to adjust your mai, or distance. You withdraw back almost to a musubi dot like that. Crescent kick to block. Okay, you bring that foot around like this. Now, you're going to step straight down behind his leg, this way, an elbow strike to the chest or the face at the same time. That's your takedown. And then, of course, once you start to get here, you start using grappling maneuvers again. Follow up with a punch to the temple. Hey, arigato. Now, we are coming towards the end of the kata now, and you'll recall we have several movements. We do this searching movement with our feet, an upper block and then upper punch at the same time. In other words, stepping out like this, block and punch simultaneously. Okay? Sliding back, searching, chamber, block and punch simultaneously. All right, what's happening here is, as your opponent strikes, you're doubling up on your speed actually by blocking and punching simultaneously. And then we also have a tuite or grappling maneuver that follows right behind that technique, and it looks like this. Hey. Be careful when you're doing these joint locks, by the way. It's very easy to overextend and hyperextend. You don't want your partner to get an injury. All right, so you do this either side, but basically what happens is as your opponent attacks, you block and punch simultaneously. Bang. This hand slides up this way. The other one rolls over the top like that. You step back. What assists you in doing this is by shifting your body weight back, and it doesn't take much pressure. It doesn't take much. Your opponent is completely subdued. You got those eggs. Let's stop. The final application I'd like to show you from Passai Dai Kata is another method or alternate way of using kakeuke to apply a joint lock in conjunction with a pressure point. So you'll recall at the end of both kata, Passai Sho and Passai Dai, you step out and then execute this hooking block or sweeping maneuver like this. But again, as you know by now from all of our tapes, there's many applications to each movement. So this is yet another way you can employ that same movement. Hey. All right, what's happening here is, after you have done the double block and done the joint lock, you're also using a tuite or Kyusho Jitsu movement of twisting together for a wrist lock, and you have two twists here. One this way, and then one pressing outward. Okay? There's two of them going on at the same time. Then, and of course you have to be strong to apply this stuff, you go inside this muscle group and go for that pressure point or nerve center right under here. And you just pull that muscle group aside and then apply pressure down. Wide open joint lock, and there it is. Okay, so you can practice this on your partner to see if you can get that nerve center. But you have to be strong. You have to roll that muscle group away, hit the pressure point and the wrist lock at the same time. Hey, all right, that concludes both Passai Sho and Passai Dai, kata, and all the relevant bunkai. I hope you enjoyed it. Also, the joint locking techniques, along with the punching, kicking, and blocking, and so forth, make up all the techniques within Shorin-ryu Karate. Thank you very much. I'm George Alexander.